Hey, greetings and salutations and welcome once again to the Capeless Crusaders live at the time from Empire's Comics Vault. There's no one around. I was going to clap.
Nobody's here.
We are your number one, supposedly, podcast, allegedly, for anything comic book related, rumored to be.
That's new.
Supposedly.
Nice.
I know. My name is, of course, David Barry, at Dr. Barry, on varying social media platforms, as the placard below me says. I am joined this evening by two of my brothers in arms and a bunch of other people that we'll introduce shortly. First off, to my right, at the right hand of the king.
Tonight,
Oh, there it is.
I'm going to maintain order in Gotham City.
Okay.
This is the Azorian one, Anthony Steves.
It's a fictional place.
Says you.
it?
Says me. I mean, it's based loosely on Pittsburgh.
Or Stockton.
Was it? I thought it was Chicago.
It's a little bit of Pittsburgh and
It's
Chicago.
like a lot of things.
With
Okay.
a dash of New York.
Yeah, just a sprinkling
Because
of urine.
Metropolis is New York, being the big apricot.
That's true.
That's
Hey,
right.
who are you? Now that you got all this
My name
knowledge.
is Manderson at Son of Mander on
Ow.
Twitter and Instagram.
Sorry.
Every time you do that, I think we're doing Wakanda Forever.
See, no, but I'm crossing my
It's-
arms
yeah,
out
I
in front
got
of
it
me.
that time.
I'm doing more of a Wonder Woman thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there it is. For anything related to the Capeless Crusaders, you can head on over to thecapelesscrusaders.com. That is your hub for all things Crusaders. From there, you can find our social media accounts, our Twitch, our YouTube, support us on Patreon, read a blog or two, get some news, do all of those things. And, yeah, you ready for this? You can find a link.
What?
To our guests.
What?
For the evening.
What?
Because I don't know, you see all these up here, see those are sponsors.
Yeah, over there.
We'll talk about them later, but over on this side.
Above me.
Above, we have some cartoon people, but they're actually
love
here.
cartoons.
They are NerdOn the
What?
Podcast.
Yes.
NerdOn TV. Oh, yeah, we're going to clap?
Yeah, NerdOn the Podcast.
Yeah.
Uniform.
Sounds pretty cool to me.
Yeah. Everyone say
Hi,
yay.
hi.
There it is. Appreciate it. We are joined by our friends from Southern California. That is NerdOn TV. So, friends, introduce yourself, starting with none other than Tall, Dark, Not Ugly, on everything, on everything.
You can't do it if it's my thing.
But you do it better. I did it weird.
You do it now.
I do. Okay. What's up, everybody? This is Tom. You know who it is. Tall, dark, not ugly, on everything, on everything.
There he is.
And it's funny. I literally pointed at Josh. I'm like, "You introduce yourself first," but you guys had to do it because this is an epic moment. But to my right, we
Josh
have,
can go now if he wants.
That was second from the left, for those who are curious. I am Ali. I'm the one all the way to the right. And, yeah, resident YouTube master
Ooh.
and all things digital.
I like it.
Dig it.
Yeah. I am Josh. Just Josh.
I am Steve Rogers.
Good one.
He's the image in the middle.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm the middle guy.
I'm Caitlin.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm
That's
Corey.
it.
What's up? My name's Corey. I'm the loud one, rude boy on the block.
Hey, best friend. No, my best friend.
Hey, jeez. God,
friends.
calm down. Corey,
Barry, you could be my best friend.
there it is. Me and
You
Tom
say
are best
breast
friends.
friend?
Yes. Corey is the red one in the picture, and
Yeah.
Caitlin is the blue and purple hair.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yes, those are all those, and Tom's that one with that sweet Capeless Crusaders T-shirt
Oh, there
Yep.
it is.
that isn't actually.
Aw,
I'm
I
currently
never
poking Tom.
realized that at all.
Yeah,
that's
he's
our
a finger
little,
puppet.
our
That's
small
weird.
nod.
Anyway,
Oh,
so
no, for silly.
on this week's episode, we are of course going to go around the horn. We're going to talk about what comic books we've been reading this week. We are not going to have any news, though there is one piece late breaking. Fan Bingbing, who was Blink in X-Men. She disappeared a couple weeks ago. Yeah, she was arrested for tax evasion.
Oh, Capone.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the news. And then our main topic, The Dark Knight Returns, the Seminole. What does Seminole mean?
Oh, Google it.
Isn't
Cool.
that like a warrior from like the Florida tribes of?
No, you're thinking
Native
of
Americans?
the Seminoles. With
I thought you were talking about Samoa.
Seminole. with
Oh,
an A.
okay.
like the
you
Girl
said
Scout
it
cookies?
the
Yes.
same way.
Strongly influencing later developments relating to or denoting. Don't say that part.
That's fine. Seminole, though.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, Seminole. The Seminole denoting semen.
Don't read the second one.
Oh, God.
I read the second one.
Anyway, so we're talking, of course, about The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller. But Before we get to that, before we talk about the Batman, before we get to doing all that, we are surrounded by comic books.
We are.
We are talking to a nerdy podcast, our friends down south.
We are.
We are all wearing comic book t-shirts.
Correct.
We are, I have a knockoff Chinese bootleg Infinity Gauntlet that is basically a cleaning glove.
He cleans the dishes with them.
But she's
Jesus.
snapping it.
But I can snap.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty fantastic. So when all of those
the
things are
greatest dishes
happening,
with that.
Yes.
we like to go round the horn. I almost just turned on you yelled so loud I hit the intro button instead of the full screen. Jesus. No, we've slurped our water
Should we
awkwardly.
let our guests start?
You have water?
I'm going to go to them after I do my thing.
Oh, sorry.
Because when we go around the horn, we go around the table in a circular fashion, except for the fact that we no longer had a circular table. We do not. We will have a circular table when part 2 of this episode happens, because it's only audio when we're talking to Nerd On.
Finally.
The magic of radio.
Oh.
Yes.
Do I sound like an old school radio?
Exactly, there it is.
On the ones and twos.
We talk about what
Adam
comic
West
books we
reference.
have been reading this week. We think you should check them out, and here's what they are. Steve's, you're scratching your head awkwardly like you're a dad with 2 kids and didn't get a chance to read anything.
Pass.
There it is. You know what? If I'm going to be so disappointed in you guys, I'm going to send it down south first. Friends, what have you guys been reading?
Sorry.
Nerd On.
All right. I'm really excited about this because I'm a huge fan of the show.
Nice.
So it's
Cool.
if we're gonna
First
be
time
on,
caller.
Long-time listener.
I got to make sure I've read something. I also want to say that Tom and I are wearing comic book shirts as well. I
Proud
got
of you.
Flash.
Yes.
He's rocking Batman. Had to come prepared. So Tom actually lent me Fables recently, which I had played the video game Wolf Among Us, which is centered more around Bigsby, or you play as Bigsby. So it's nice for me to kind of read a little more of the world itself, and I'm loving it so far. I just started recently, but so far I'm hooked.
Sweet.
Nice.
Caitlin?
Oh man. I haven't read anything.
Wow.
I know.
We call that a pass.
I mean,
Wow.
and I feel bad that I'm not even wearing like a themed. Well, no, I am wearing a a superhero shirt. I'm wearing a black shirt, and I am the knight.
Me
Good
too.
answer. Good
Go
answer.
us. I am. A new issue of Walking Dead released a couple weeks
Nice.
ago, so I finished that this week, and I also started Spawn Origins.
Ooh, very.
I am what we call on our show an uncultured swine. So I have a lot of catching up to do.
But by going to
And-
the spawn, you just became my best friend.
Oh, see?
There.
Oh, yay! I have a best friend now.
I have this revolving door of
Tom.
best friend.
Oh, no.
We're all parallel.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for everybody at home. My filter dropped.
All the children, he said, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Crying out loud.
He's verklempt. He's.
I'm a bad person. I'm ready to go, Ollie.
I'm reading currently now, catching up on DeConnick's Captain Marvel.
Ooh,
Nice.
Good
I think she might be one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Marvel character, especially with the upcoming movie. Probably
Yeah.
will be. I'm going to be on the hype train for that for sure. And I want to get my backlog going.
dig it.
Nice.
There you go.
I love that Kelly Sue, by the way, on Twitter is Kelly Sue Demonic. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's pretty fun. Yeah.
For myself, we have the all usual homework assignments that we do here at NerdOn. Very similar to how the Crusaders do homework assignments. Remember those?
It's like you steal content from us, Tom.
Something like that. It's kind of like I'm this peeing off version, like the Titans, they're just the kid version of Justice League. But
What?
Actually, we had this idea to do Green Lantern. And Mr. Powers, we did this like little trade thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why they call it trades. Anyways, but it was the New Lanterns, Volume 1 through 3. And that follows Kyle Rayner after the rebirth of Hal Jordan from Jeff Johns, where the rest of the Lantern Corps were fleshed out. And Kyle Rayner, the newest of the Earth Green Lanterns, gets multiple power rings activated and sent to him, and we don't know why.
Interesting.
I'll leave that alone there. So it's not part of normal continuity because it's not part of Rebirth, so whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it was fun to read, and it has nice visuals.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Wait.
That was New 52, I think.
But wasn't...
No, it's
there were
before
a
Blackest
couple-
Night.
There were a couple series, though, that technically were not rebooted by New 52 or by Rebirth. Wasn't Green Lantern one of them?
Green Lantern was one of them.
Green Lantern and Batman are technically carried over.
They're still technically part of it, but I mean,
which is stupid. Which is the dumbest thing ever. You're going to reset
which
your
makes
whole
it hard.
universe.
It makes it hard to justify
you gotta
all
commit.
the reboots. It's like, how did that work out? But I mean, even then, Dr. Manhattan's like, there wasn't a reboot. It was just like 10 years off your timeline.
Yeah,
so
he's
whatever.
just like walking around smacking everyone on the head. I mean, with his hand.
Yeah, he's made his hand.
Yeah, his hand. It's totally
His big blue hand.
There's
big,
also
veiny hand.
there's also like 15 Batman comics, so I mean, like, New
And
52
3
was
Jokers,
far from
so-
perfect.
Yeah.
Which they're finally dealing with.
I know, right?
It's a lot of jokes.
But that's it.
Yeah.
nice.
But you know what? I'm proud of that. You know what, Manderson?
Yeah.
Bring it home. What'd you read?
All right, wait, what did you read?
I'll talk later.
Okay. I'm going to go off the short list. I read Superman #2, Captain America #2, The Flash 52, not to be confused with the new 52. Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps #50, Supergirl #21, which I restarted that series because of Bendis' Man of Steel. Wonder Woman 52, Oblivion Song 6, Champions 23 because of Riri Williams.
Okay.
And the 2005 run of Captain America issues 26 and 27, which follows Civil War.
That's it?
So that's that's not all that I read. That's all that I can recall.
Got it.
This today when I was putting a list together.
Oh my god.
Manderson, I feel like
Wow.
you're
We
trying to prove something.
We
trying
got a
to-
little
I'm trying to be
nerd
like
on
you.
over here.
Oh yeah.
We're not worthy.
No, that list is really short. A couple weeks ago, David's like, I read 97 issues this past week.
Yeah.
That was a fact,
Oh.
actually. He
Yeah.
did.
What'd you read, David?
Whatever.
I'm the
issues.
best. First off, before we get to that, Match of Boomstick, Sergeant Squiggles, and CB Rich, hello. Welcome to the chat room. That's all I wanted to say. What did I read this week? I caught up on Batman. Not for this Batman, but on top of this Batman with the other Batman. I also...
Batception?
Yes,
Not
exactly.
Batman, but
Batception.
the other Batman.
All the Batmans. Also read a little bit of X-Men, X-Men Gold, X-Men Blue. Really looking forward to Uncanny X-Men. What else did I read?
A lot of stuff.
I didn't read The Sandman. Oh wow, I'm a terrible
the new one,
person.
right?
I started it.
I need to. How bad was it?
It was my first exposure to it, so I have nothing.
You've never read
Oh,
You ever read The Other Sandman?
No.
Really?
well, get ready for an acid trip.
I got one. I got one. I read the first issue of Sandman. Yeah.
And actually, no, that's not entirely true. I did start just because I don't know. I went back and started rereading Alan Moore's Swamp Thing.
Nice.
So good.
Yeah, so
Hey,
I'm like 4 trades into that.
thanks once again for introducing me to Swamp Thing.
You're welcome. Ding.
You're welcome.
Anyway, so
Jesus.
like I said, no news for this week. I'm still gonna hit the button though, just to like the sound.
Oh. California is still on fire and my pants are missing.
That's why
know.
California's on fire. Hey!
Hey.
Anyway.
California's lit.
Yeah, California is lit AF. I saw someone tweet the other day. It's like Californians, when it comes to being on fire, it's like they're talking about the rain. It's like, yeah, California's burning again. You're like, oh yeah, it totally is. Like, looks that way.
Yeah, looks like it.
Oh dang.
It's fine.
All right.
That
well,
that sun looks like the Satan.
We become the gift.
It's Tuesday.
It's fine.
So, like I said, no news. I just wanted to push the button. On to our main topic. Our main topic for the week.
What is it?
It's a comic.
Oh.
Right. It is The Dark Knight Returns, written by Frank Miller, illustrated by Frank Miller and Klaus Janson. Did everyone read it?
Yes.
Yes.
NerdOn, did you all read it?
Yes.
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 Staggered yeses.
Read it.
What is this reading that you speak of?
What? What?
Have read it.
Have you
have
read
read it
it
in
at
the
some
past.
point?
Yes.
I have not.
Can I make a disclaimer real quick?
Do it.
I read it with my eyes.
I actually have read the later ones more recently than I
works.
read the what we're actually talking
The
about.
Death Race.
Or the
I
Master
read
Race?
Strikes Again and
Strikes
Master
Again.
Race because I remember when last time I visited Empire Comics, I saw like issue 1 of Master Race came out, and I was like, I'm gonna get that. Holy shit, there's Donald Trump. But yeah, and then I read all that stuff.
Can I share a story?
Yes.
Always.
This particular book is the first comic book that I ever read.
Oh.
Because as I have said already, I am an uncultured swine.
Yes.
And a friend of mine was like, "You got to read comic books, man. They're so cool." And well, really, the conversation was, "I don't read comic books. I don't really like them." He was like, "Well, you haven't read the right ones then." And he gave me a stack of them, and there was like Walking Dead, Why the Last Man, and this book, and I loved it. It's
Your friend has
you go.
it's yummy.
Yep.
So
It's yummy.
quick rundown. The years.
Dwayne Johnson, Sean William Scott.
No, not the rundown.
Want a little bit of lightning? A little bit of thunder?
Yes! Still my favorite rock movie.
The year is 1986. Frank Miller is given the reins on Batman, a character deemed campy at this point in time.
Robin.
So a 4-issue miniseries, like I said, written and drawn by Frank Miller along with Klaus Johnson. Quick overview of the story for those of you who have not read it. Batman is 55 years old and redawns. Is redawns a word?
Yeah, it is now.
It is. He redawns the mantle of the Batman to fight crime and government corruption in his city. And technically, I mean, by that in all that regards, he technically fights for his country as well, in some ways. By many, it is considered one of the greatest graphic novels of all time. I would say that even with my issues with the Batman, I would agree. Its impact, which we'll talk about later, on not just comics but on film, on the way we viewed pop culture and the Batman, the ripples will be felt for all time. Now, that being said, I want to start right off with how many capes out of 10 do we want to give the book? I'm throwing a curveball because we started doing capes the other day, and I think it's ridiculous, but I love it. That was your thing.
That was me
So,
thing.
as far as comics are concerned, out of 10 capes, give me a rating, friend Manderson.
I would go 9.75.
9.75.
I had to cut one up and throw it on the ground, but 9.75.
Wow. Stevs. That's the Portuguese way of saying it.
It's right. He's true.
Oh, wow.
Man, this is tough. Due to its impact alone, I'm gonna give it a 9. 9 out of 10.
For me, 9.5.
Nice.
9.5.
Nice.
Now, Nerd on, friends. Out of 10 capes.
Tall, dark, not ugly. You
Out of
started off.
10. I mean,
There's so many numbers now.
I know,
We
right?
usually do 5.
Yeah, we're
Doubles
going
your
to
numbers.
5. I think we can count that high.
but I
I
mean,
don't know.
for the comic itself, I mean, like, when we're talking about the original one, not with Strikes again, or not with Master Race, right?
Yep, just
Yeah.
the one book.
Okay.
Just returns.
Then it's a 9.5.
Okay.
9.5. I'm a little harsher with my ratings all the time. So
9.5.
He gave it a
9.5.
9.5.
Gave it a 9.5.
Oh,
Tom.
super harsh.
I'm sorry. Next to the person who loves Superman, who says 9.75, I'm like, geez, you must have really loved it compared to a guy who bathes in Batman.
Yeah.
Mr. Ali Oxenfree.
I give it a 9.75.
Nice. Joshua?
That would be a 9.5.
I'm gonna give it a 0 because I've never read it.
You're like one of those
Then
people
put
that
a-
gives a restaurant a 0 on Yelp, and you're like, I didn't actually go here.
Exactly.
leaving the review?
They say they wouldn't change my tires.
I don't usually leave
I'll
a
just
review, but
I'll update it when I've read it.
Oh,
But it's a 0 for
You'll
now.
write back in?
Yeah.
That's good. For me, again, I went with the Steves on this one, especially because of the impact it had. I'm going to go with
10.
No, 9
9.
for me.
Oh, wow.
Not
I was gonna say, we're
9?
giving it a perfect
Not
10.
even point something?
No, 9.
Just 9. Heck,
Yeah.
Okay.
So the story itself, while very important to the comic mythos and to the Batman mythos, it is what was the term you used, Tom, to describe it? Elsewhere? Elseworld?
Elseworld.
It is an alternate timeline where, well, I mean, in theory, it could be a future, but things are very different. It's not take place in the main DC canon. The series itself, except for its subsequent sequels, stands alone basically. But for anyone, if you want to get into Batman, if you're looking for just a great overall Batman story, you can never go wrong with Frank Miller's The Dark Knight. So that being said, favorite moments, favorite panels, favorite page, favorite anything from this comic. Is it a cover? Is it a line of text? Is it an action scene? And I'm going to start NerdOn. Give it to me.
Yeah.
What are your favorite parts of this comic?
I got one.
Oh, you want to go first, Josh?
Yeah.
Sweet baby Josh, hitting it up, right?
Okay. My favorite moment, and what's so funny is I wrote this down while I was reading it. My favorite panel, and I can't cuss, so Batman on a horse.
Yeah.
I mean, that panel, I wanted to say Batman on an effing horse. I mean, he's on a horse, and he's so awesome.
Yeah.
And it's just one panel, and it's the horse is like rearing up, and you're like, yeah.
Batman gets it.
Majestic.
Which is like, when else do you see him on a horse?
No.
Like, that's
Yeah.
super bad.
I know.
I did want to say one thing though, specifically about The Dark Knight Returns, where you're saying like it is something that people can get into. If you like gangster movies and like crime movies, like you should get into like The Godfather. Like, because before it's like, yeah, I'm saying, and then The Godfather really took it to like another level, and then a lot of organized crime films like take from there. So in that sense of like Batman, where it's very like campy, didn't like all Batman 66, yeah, and then
Holy rusted metal, Robin.
it may not be like the tell-all be-all story, but it definitely influenced the years to come in even movies. But with me, my favorite moment is definitely the Batman to Superman monologue. I'm
the one that beat you.
Well, the end where it's like in your most private moments. I'm like,
That was mine.
it's so good. Like that one just flutters all my capes. You know what I'm saying? Full
As
cape
we
action.
say here, it gives you a nerd on.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know how Todd McFarlane draws Batman with like the pointy shoulder parts. That's what happened to my cape. Shoulder parts, you know what I'm saying?
David, you mentioned something about saying like the cover as well. For me, was something that is so iconic. Like that's something that pops into my head as much Batman, material that I've consumed. When someone says Batman, that's still an image that like is one of the first to pop into my mind. It's just Against That Lightning, like. But for me, if it's not, Tom took my favorite moment, which is the speech. Anything with Joker.
You can't have the same.
We can, but like for the variety sake.
Variety.
Yeah.
Got it.
You're like my brother that doesn't like ordering the same food as me in the restaurant.
Well, food I don't mess around with. I'll order the same thing as you. Doesn't matter. I don't care. But for content, anything. Yeah, that's Tom's just pulling up an image of the cover right now.
Because
and it's
I've not seen it.
beautiful. Anything with Joker.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm a sucker.
For the buff Joker,
Yeah,
the really buff like Vince McMahon WWE.
Yeah, and I love.
Joker.
I know it's silly. Like I love him putting on the lipstick and everything. Like I love little moments like that for me.
Yeah. He's been catatonic, but he's ripped.
Yeah.
Yep. I too love all the Joker stuff, and it's what made the comic for me. But my favorite moment was him kissing Selena Kyle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like in that moment, you're like, because this is what I love about that book, or one of the things that I love about it, is that it's like, it's later Batman. Like, I'm done with origin stuff,
Sorry, Steve.
Give me all the later years. And it's like in that moment, you're like, man, there's just so much like history here.
There's so much where you can go, and
like
no
they
one goes
didn't end
there.
up together, but like they love each other. Like there's like that tenderness, and I just want to explore like that story more.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big favorite of mine.
Caitlin, your favorite? Oh, right.
I like
okay.
the part where Bruce Wayne was Batman.
Yep. Yeah.
Good one.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry if that was a spoiler, guys.
I haven't gotten to that part.
All that
yet.
ginger ale.
Yeah.
But that sums us up. How about y'all?
Stevs.
I'm going to go also with the horse
Yes.
due to the history the Batman character has with, of course, Zorro. The
that's the
influence
other thing.
Zorro has on the Batman character, being that was the movie he was watching before his parents were killed.
Oh, is that when the pearls dropped?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my
Do you
God,
remember that part?
Barry.
I also like that he finds
Run, Barry,
it,
run.
He finds it on like late night TV, and he's like, "Oh, what could the harm be in
Yeah.
watching Zorro?" And
Right,
then it all-
exactly. And it's even
PTSD.
the rearing up on the horse. That's a Zorro staple.
Yeah.
After he saves the day, he rears up on the horse, and the Zorro music plays. And so
Olay.
it was a shout out to the first
Antonio
Batman.
Banderas.
Yeah.
Oh.
Dig it.
Yeah.
Zorro being the first Batman.
Zorro being
Zorro being the first Batman,
He was
excuse
the
me.
original the vigilante.
Yeah.
Manderson, what about you?
Mine's not really one part, but I actually enjoyed how they interwove all the different talk shows and news bits here and there, because when you first start reading, you're like, okay, this is completely unnecessary. It's really hot. These things are happening. There's a storm coming. These things are happening. We're having a fight with this country. These things,
Yeah.
But as you get into it, it's a really good world building tool that they use, and it made very quickly in a 4-issue run, built this really solid world that doesn't feel like it's just Gotham. It's like, no, there's all these things happening, and they establish not even important events in Gotham, but in Washington, D.C., Soviet Union, and just big things that were happening that time. And so like I just appreciate that creative way to world build, because I don't think I'd ever really seen or read anything like that in a comic book before. And they uniquely used smaller panels than you normally see as well to kind of fit everything in. That's it. That's me.
That's good, because it actually, part of that kind of ties into mine, because I really like the way they did that news story aspect, because what it really reminded me of was the a staple of the early Spawn comics that Todd McFarlane did was the talking head segment, and he always had these talking heads who were like discussing like crime in the city and all this other stuff, and they were talking about, you know, the clown and the Spawn and the vigilante, and Todd McFarlane obviously took that from Frank Miller, and I always love that. I love when a comic will have that, again, that kind of just that background aspect that's it's just news. It could be nothing, but it's tied to it. My other favorite part is a fight scene that has been often recreated, and that is the fight scene between...
Slice and Dice?
No.
Oh.
Not between Ron and Don.
Dang it.
Batman's a spud. It was actually between Batman and Superman when he's all armored up. And probably one of the... I don't know. It's like a panel that always sticks with me. Whenever I think about the fight, Frank Miller has a really unique style, and sometimes action does and does not transfer well, and sometimes it looks... Like the way the bodies twist and the way the hair moves, it doesn't look real, but it still grabs me for some reason. And it's when the image, you're basically looking at Superman's back as Batman is more or less punching him kind of down and across the jaw. And Superman's head is just spun around. His hair is flipping. His perfect little curl is flipping as well. And Superman is just... or Batman's
Such a
laying the
perfect
beat
little
down
curl.
right into him. And I've seen it, like I said, it's recreated, like Squadron Supreme recreated it recently, and it's just, I love that image of that little tight little box of the two of them right side by side while he's just beating him into the ground.
Two guys who once were teamed together,
They were
together.
they were part of the Trinity.
Bros for
Because
life.
you hate Kryptonians.
I hate Kryptonians. I also sometimes dislike Batman, so it works out.
That's fair.
What was I going to say? I just blanked for a second.
Well, welcome back.
It's the hummus. Least favorite. Is there anything in there that particularly made you uncomfortable? You didn't like the way it looked. You didn't like the way it transferred, you know, from paper to your eyeballs. Is there a moment that you're kind of like, was it a classic Frank Miller move? And you're like, oh, I get it. Like violence against women, that's your thing. Or like,
It shouldn't be a thing, but
yeah,
get it.
exactly. So it's like,
Misogyny,
it's like Alan Moore. You're into phalluses. Like, kids, you can watch and enjoy and read and absorb media and content. It's with a critical eye. That's what's important. You recognize that humor at one point may or may not have been appropriate by today's standards, but you can still enjoy something as long as you recognize the issue and look at it with a critical eye. So when Swamp Thing gives a tuber to a woman and she eats it, just think about that. Just think it's a do you get it?
The more you
understanding?
know.
Damn it, beat me to it.
Do you get it? Anyway. Least favorite moments.
We're fighting after this.
Yeah, you
I
guys
know.
are fighting. It's
I'm
gonna
gonna
be
punch you
adorable.
like that drawing.
Steve's. Anything you didn't like about the book?
Well,
Jesus.
But didn't.
I mean, if you really didn't, just,
Don't stop
Oh,
with the
I
sexy
mean-
noises. Let's,
I mean, let's just skip you if you don't have one.
Skip me for now. Skip me
All
for
right,
now.
cool. Anderson, do you have anything?
nope. I was trying to like rack my brain for
Just
something.
because you gave it a 9.75,
No,
you could still have had an
And,
issue.
I mean, okay. The thing that really bothers me the most is some of the way that people are drawn. I can distinctly remember one of the frames where Batman is like really hunched over and his fists are just kind of like in front of him and he's kind of shredded, and it doesn't look like
He looks almost like a tiki caricature of Batman.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Batman.
Like that you would
like
buy
the
at
Batman.
Disneyland.
Sure. I don't know. Yeah. Some
It's
of the
Maui?
way that he is portrayed graphically sometimes. But for the most part, it's just like a few things here and there.
Okay.
I'm getting nitpicky.
That's the point.
Those are those are the things-
Nitpicky. I like
those are
that. I like that you put the emphasis on the nit.
The
Nitpicky.
nitpicky. That's the 0.25 was
Jonathan
those kinds of
Nitpicky.
things.
All right, these guys don't have anything. NerdOn, do you have anything that you did not enjoy about it?
Lemony
I'm sure Tom does.
Accurate.
I mean,
Tom
How much
always
did you hate
does.
I'm usually the grump of the group, so yeah, I'd have to agree. I don't like some of the art style of it specifically. I feel like I know I get there's like a lot of violence in it, and sometimes for me, like I feel like there's sometimes not needed that much, but I get it. Like I remember, like before reading this, like I remember watching the Rino Romano animated series of Batman, and they did a version. They did like a dream state where it was based off the Frank Miller, this book. And it was just so heavy metal. It was just like over the top, and I get it. That was like the time frame. But then thinking of the context of like where Batman is now and what Batman was, it's kind of like it just felt so over the top a little bit in terms of the violence. But like it was cool to see it because it was just like a 180. But it's a little jarring. But I mean, it's tough because I find it's hard to not like something based on its own DNA, and sometimes it makes it more difficult to pick apart. But then sometimes you still have to cause glaring issues. Like, yeah, I don't like the art style that like everyone's chin looks like
That was what I was gonna say.
Crimson Chin from Fairly Odd Parents. It's ridiculous. For all you kids at home, you get that reference. Maybe. And then, I mean, yeah, I don't like how Batman's kind of look like because he's been dubbed Fat Man. And I'm just like, well, I don't know. No.
He's just a little husky.
And I don't like how the Joker looked like.
That's okay.
Yeah, I don't like how the Joker looked. So most of my qualms or problems, if anything, I don't like are just aesthetics. But the story is good. But I mean, there is a lot of like very reminiscent. Like when was it written?
86.
1986.
86. I mean, but it has like a lot of that tension of that like very visceral, hateful wordage when it's not like from Batman or anything like that, but it's from like the world it's in there. So I mean, it's cool that it's like a time capsule of the time, but it's just kind of like, geez, reel it in, man. It's a book.
Yeah.
Reel it in.
I don't mean to jump on the bandwagon, but some of the art bugged me as well. Again, the how many lines on a face
Yeah.
can you put? Was what bugged me.
A lot. Corey.
There's this one.
Everyone's a
image,
scroll there.
There's that one of Batman particular where his face is like particularly like bubbly, and it kind of took me out of it for a minute. But like the story's all there for me. The thing for me, this is a personal thing for me. Frank Miller always makes me feel depressed.
Yeah.
And so I always approach Frank Miller comics with that like, all right, let's do this thing. Let's mentally prepare for a little bit of misogyny, a little bit of violence.
Yeah.
He is very misogynistic in his writing.
Yeah. So that
Good to know.
Those would be my only two things. The story itself is great. Like it's got some amazing panels in it, like you guys have said. And I did like his take on the Joker. Could have taken his shoulders in a little bit. I'll
The
agree with you, Tom.
characterization is cool.
Yeah.
And bringing it back in is fine. But man,
Those shoulders.
I mean,
The football field.
just shoulder check anybody and they're
Yeah.
just knocked down. They just walked into a brick wall, baby.
But
It's like, jeez.
Yeah. For me, it's more. I guess it's more stylistic issues.
Maybe he's wearing shoulder pads because that was a big thing back in the 80s.
That's true.
Big
I
shoulders,
mean,
yeah.
Technically, jumping back into it again, I only have issues with the later stuff, which is like Batman Strikes Again and then like Batman Master Race. But that's not about this.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
You know what? Big shoulder look is out.
To further the bandwagon,
Get rid of all my sports quotes. Yeah.
I think I'm sort of in the same boat. The writing for me, I agree with 100%, but I think it was excused for me for Batman. Like I have a problem with it in a lot of his other writing, but for Batman, I think it fit well enough to where I was okay, like looking past a few of the little things here and there. But for me, the reason it's not a perfect 10 or whatever is because of some of the artwork choices. But it's like you have a starting point of like all the men being like the proportion that they are, and then on top of that, he had to make Batman
Even bigger.
Yeah.
To sort of compensate of him. It's like he's the same
It's like
size
there's
as
only
Commissioner
two
Gordon.
people in the world that big, and it's you and Batman. So.
Right. And it wasn't my favorite rendering of Superman either. But yeah, just like how what Manderson mentioned about some of the poses, just like I feel like they were done. Like maybe he was trying to show the physicality of it, but it didn't like make the most like physical sense.
They can't scratch their backs.
Right, they cannot scratch their backs at all. Someone's making a lot of money off of these
Back
characters with back scratchers. Yeah,
Ivory back scratchers.
yeah. But yeah,
Josh?
Let's see.
I like the book.
I did like the book.
it had pretty pictures.
The pictures were pretty. Oh, there were words too. No, I'm gonna get on the bandwagon too. In terms of the way some things looked, I did not like the representation of Superman, but I'm also an uncultured swine.
Wait,
so
like his characterization or like how he looked?
his characterization, a little bit of how he looked. Okay. He's like, I didn't like the how Joker looked, and this is kind of silly, but it's more in a maybe it's the format of how they formatted the book, and I think Manderson had mentioned earlier about how some of the cells are super small. So, but that means that some of the pages, how you use it. So, but some of the pages were just like, holy, there's a lot going on here. And
holy smokes, Batman!
I'm gonna spend 20 minutes on this page.
Yeah, so it's a silly thing, but for me, I was like, wow, that's a lot of panels.
Caitlin.
I mean, for the writing, the art style, the pacing, I feel like I just can't judge it because I've not read it.
What did you think of the font on the cover?
I haven't seen it, so also can't really judge that.
Wow.
I didn't know that reading the comic was a thing, so...
Can I give some context of like the misogynistic Frank Miller stuff of Batman and how he's only gotten worse?
Yeah, I mean,
sure.
Has he only gotten worse?
Sounds about right.
Yes.
I remember, okay, so this was like, I was reading comics, but I didn't read this yet. And I remember getting Batman All-Star.
Okay.
And it's when he first gets Boy Wonder Robin.
Yeah. Right.
And I think by issue 4, he meets Huntress or Black Canary. And they're fighting on the docks. And then all of a sudden they're fighting. In the middle of it, he just like makes out with her. And then the first thing that Batman says, she tastes like cigarettes.
What?
And I was like, I'm done. I'm done.
And
I was like, I don't need this in my life. I don't need my Batman to be like a douchebag. And then he's like, I'm going to meet with Hal Jordan. Paints a room yellow because they can't touch yellow because of the yellow impurity. I'm like, I'm done. I'm so done. I'm over it. And it looked good. You know what? It was drawn by Jim Lee. And I was like, how'd you do this to my Batman? But yes, that's it for me. Wow. Crusaders?
Frank Miller liked, in Dark Knight Returns, he liked the less reps, heavy weight, no cardio workout.
Yes. Oh my God.
You won't get swole? I don't want to get shredded anymore.
Dude, you can't do too much cardio. You're going to lose your mass.
Oh my God.
Swole. That's true for some of us.
10 pounds of there you
go.
You guys are scrawny.
And the grocery scene was that he was going in for more creatine.
It's expensive.
I think the kind of the hyper-violence wasn't as much of an issue for me, given one, that now that I have so much more exposure to Frank Miller, I'm like, oh, that's just who you are, apparently.
It's your shtick.
But two, and we talk more about this in a minute. Actually, I mean, we could pop right into it because you guys didn't have anything, so we're just gonna pop right into the next part. But
everybody had like the same thing, the art style.
heavy weights, less
if
reps.
Jim Lee were to redo it all with his drawing, it'd be great.
Even I brought up the art style.
Yeah.
Anyway, the grittiness, like we talked about, like the art, like the heavy lines and all of that, it all kind of bleeds into the next part, which is Dark Knight Returns, along with Watchmen, basically ushered in what is considered the modern era of comics. Some people call it the Iron Age. Some people call it the Dark Age, which doesn't make sense, but they get it, because the Dark Age was like
right.
But yeah, just because it's dark. But it basically like this darker, grittier style came into play in comics after, again, stuff like Watchmen, stuff like the Dark Knight Returns.
Killing Joke.
And everything kind of went that direction in a lot of comics, like Frank Miller, his run on Daredevil and all these other all the books, Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, like they all kind of came into play. V for Vendetta, like it all just dark is where the money started flowing. Now, the importance of this book when it comes to undoing the campy image that was established by Adam West. So I know how this one feels.
That's me.
About Adam West. NerdOn, how, as far as, where do you guys rank Adam West? Do you like Adam West? Do you like the Batman 66? Are things...
I grew up
you like
watching the
him?
live action, and it is my life.
There you go, Burt
And
Ward.
That's it.
That's it. I have nothing else to add.
enjoy Adam West quite a bit, but I cannot compare it. It's like a whole different beast.
Yeah, it
Fair.
does feel like it's this whole different like character, except that they happen to be called the same thing and
It's
look
like
the same.
it's like an SNL parody of Batman.
Yeah.
It's like you enjoy it for its own thing.
Yeah. Thank you. That's fair. Yeah, I agree with that 100% because I do love Adam West, and of course I love the like self-aware comedy he did like on
Yeah.
Family Guy later on in life and stuff. But there is something that is very special and magical about it, but it should be taken as like an SNL skit. Like the fact that they're walking up a building and every time a celebrity pops out and is like, "Oh, Batman! Hey, we're buddies. Pound it!" Like, it's ridiculous, but I love it.
It was
Like Cesar
perfect.
Romero not shaving his mustache.
Right.
Yeah, like
It's like
It's
you
great.
just got to lean into it, like Tom says.
Lean into it, baby.
Own it.
Can I make an analogy?
No.
no.
Never.
Well, I am.
Maybe
Okay.
it's similar.
Because it's comic book related and it's Power Rangers. Because when that Power Rangers fan edit came out, everyone was going crazy and loved it.
yeah, that's true.
And then Jason David Frank, who is the Green Ranger most notably,
Also the White Ranger.
who didn't agree with it because he found that Power Rangers should still stand for the kids. And that's where I put Adam West. Because in the time frame where that came out, that was
Different time.
that was it. That was how Batman should have been. And I, maybe I'm influenced by like the Mr. Rogers documentary of like children should have these wholesome lessons and they should
Don't
have
read
like
Batman.
nice heroes and stuff like that. And the thing is like with Batman, it just grew into an adult theme.
Yeah.
It grew into a teenager to adult
Yeah.
theme. But then the thing about like Batman 66, it was for primetime television. It was for like adults and
Families.
families.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Where did they introduce his parents dying backstory?
I couldn't remember. I couldn't tell you. I mean, I
I
feel like that's
honestly
just.
don't
I feel like
remember.
that's literally just been like up in the background thing. It's kind of like the Hulk, where it's like radioactive poisoning, and then I'm
Do you
big.
know, Ollie?
Has it always been there? No, I don't know.
I feel
I'm
like-
wondering.
I'm sure it was pretty early on. I pulled up like a detective comic from back in 39
From way
or
back.
40, and it was
Yeah, I mean, in
referenced.
terms of the TV show, it's always just been like my parents died of crime, and so I'm going to
Do
do
you
that.
think that's
Okay.
a product like of it? Because you're saying that's in the 60s, right? And everything kind of changed for Batman in the 80s, which is a 20-year difference. Do you think it's these kids growing up and realizing that there's still a market for Batman for these older people who grew up with him? Do you think that's how
Well, I
some
mean,
of the change
also
came about?
like going through like kind of like what the Dark Knight Returns does, where like it involves like the world and all the politics and the communism and the Russians and all this. Like heroes needed to adapt.
A lot of different, kind of, if you bigger scope, a lot of world events. I
Yeah.
mean, say Vietnam, like different things,
War on drugs and all
Yeah, I
that.
mean,
Like
it's-
there was a lot that happened in the world that like you needed to reel in people to fiction so that they can.
People embrace the darkness a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because it was a little bit more prevalent.
Well, it's kind of like you can't have a shining light be the answer to everything. You need to be able to like kind of embrace darkness and champion it, so
Yeah.
it doesn't champion you.
Yeah.
But Adam West, Batman 66. I feel like it's great for what it is. I find if you're looking for a lighthearted Batman, you watch that and then animated series stuff, or you watch like
How dare you?
or we watched Batman Brave and the Bold, where it was an animated series where it just had him doing team ups. Like that's the cool thing I love about Batman is that it's a chameleon. It could be
Batman
used,
and Scooby-Doo.
yeah. It could be used for all of them.
what do you guys? How about you guys on Adam West?
I grew up watching the Adam West Batman, and then transitioned like into the animated series. And as a child, I had no qualms with it. Like looking back, because I had read somewhere that Batman was created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger. As like a parody for like he was created to make fun of the superheroes that were being printed in other comics. Like he was intended to be a joke, and I feel like the Adam West, while maybe making it a little bit more serious and putting in a plethora of PSAs, picked up with that. And if you read up to
Comic Authority.
Anyway, so like
You're talking
I'm
like
fine
you're
with
talking about
it.
when
I
he used to have
actually,
like purple
before
gloves.
coming down for the show, was watching an animated movie based off of that where Adam West actually voiced Batman.
Oh, yeah.
And he quoted the mud scene. This is an operating table.
Oh.
Like that was quoted in there, which I thought was great. Anyway,
This-
you love
That's hilarious.
the Adam West Bruce Wayne Batman, don't you?
This is me wheeling over my soapbox.
Here we go.
So I'll first admit that my bias does start with the first Batman I ever saw was Michael Keaton. I didn't see
Yes.
Adam West Batman.
So the
best
weirdo.
Yes.
Oh, which one?
Michael Keaton.
Oh, okay. I didn't see Adam West. I went right into Michael Keaton, and I saw Adam West Batman after the Michael Keaton movie, and I was like, "What the hell is this? What is this?
Who's this guy?
This isn't what I signed up for." And so I've always been like a fan of the dark Batman. The closest I got to a kid-friendly Batman was, of course, the animated series, and then
Which is
Joel
still dark.
Schumacher got a hold of it, and I got upset by that. And
Oh, the rubber nips and rubber lips.
there they go. Yeah, there's that great
Oh.
armor. Why does he suddenly have ice stuff? Anyway, I don't know.
Because
Because he's always prepared.
And then I read up. There was a documentary called Legends of the Night, done by Brett Culp, and I didn't
That's
know
your boy.
it was that whole period of time when parents or censors didn't think kids should be reading about a superhero taking out drug dealers and gangsters, and that's when things got
Right.
G-rated, and that's why you have the Adam West Batman, because of that era in comic books. Whereas Stan Lee was like, forget you, I'm sticking with what I'm doing. And kind of side with Michael Uslan, the producer who brought you the Michael Keaton Batman films, because when he saw the Adam West series, he was like, this isn't the Batman I read. This isn't what I was signing up for. And this isn't someone who like hates Adam West. To me, he'll always be the mayor of Quahog. Always.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the man himself,
Adam
Adam,
Wee.
West, is fantastic. And I will respect the title it holds in Batman history. Of course, it was an impactful show. Of course, it makes an impact. It's just not my cup of tea when it comes to Batman. I'm a
Hashtag
Keaton
not
Bale
my
guy.
Batman.
That's my Batman.
Cool.
I dig
That's
it.
me.
I second that. What he said?
Ditto.
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 Got it.
I love Adam West. I just want to real quick. I love Adam West. I did watch a little bit of it, but same experience. Saw the
My
Michael
name's
Keaton.
not Adam Wee. Or is it?
So, ditto.
I think most of us probably embrace a darker Batman more than the lighthearted, kind of joking Batman and Robin that was. And
My boys will be watching the animated series before they watch Adam West. Anyway.
Yes. So I second
because
that.
you're a good father. Yeah. I think what just the importance of what Dark Knight Returns did, where it brought that darker, edgier Batman, I guess, back.
It kind of grounds it a little bit.
Yeah, and it maybe this is just me, and we can throw him in a loony bin later, but Superman is my favorite.
Get
DC.
out.
He's my favorite character. But when I read Batman, the way that he sees the world and thinks, I identify more with that because it's more realistic. I wouldn't even say it's dark. It's more realistic. There are bad people in this world. They do bad stuff. You can't go around believing in the good of everybody. And I mean, on the flip side, I do appreciate Superman and the hope and all that kind of stuff, and that's something that I try to bring into this world. But I think there's something in all of us when we read Batman, we're like, you are right. This world is dirty and filthy, and we need to have the courage to stand up for it. Maybe not put on a mask and armor. It's really expensive. I looked into it.
It is,
Also,
it
the
is.
training, expensive.
Yeah.
But I mean, we can do that in our own way, and I think that's what he portrays, and he encounters the darkest. Because all of the memorable villains from DC, you would start listing them off. Most of them are going to be
The rogues
Batman
gallery.
villains
Yeah.
because they're the most deranged and the darkest, and they show us a side of humanity that we sometimes want to ignore.
It's kind of all the villains are almost a little bit of a mirror. We all have little pieces of that kind of darkness in us, and we're just like, oh shit.
I mean,
that's what happens if it manifests.
Yeah, and
Right? Yeah.
and one thing that I really liked about what you talked about Batman and Superman, and current with Tom King, there's the issue with Batman and Superman comparing each other and how they respect each other.
Yeah.
But I think one thing specific and kind of going on with the our show, Dark Knight Returns, what it does influences other mediums such as like the Nolanverse, which I think, in a way, it has Batman who regarded the world as a realist, and Superman is the optimist. But then, even in this Nolanverse, where it was influenced by The Dark Knight Returns, Christian Bale Batman has been able to show that part of like he has hope for his city, even though he sees the world he sees his city as a place that needs to be guarded, and he needs to be the one that's policing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, yeah.
But his whole idea is hope as well, right? It's just a different type of hope.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
It's almost-
Gordon said someone to plunge his hands into the filth.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because you view Batman and Superman the same way I view Captain America and Iron Man. If we were to go by morals, I align myself morally more with Captain America, but my favorite is Iron Man because I'm a loudmouth and I like cracking jokes. So
That's why we love
Tony
you.
Stark mouth, Steve Rogers morals. But anyway, it's funny too how it influences like the Nolanverse, influences
Batman versus Superman.
Huh?
The Snyderverse.
The Snyderverse,
Yeah.
yes. The
I mean, that-
Snyderverse.
We're just gonna make a
battlesuit is
verse out
almost,
of
like,
everything.
I mean, that's how it is.
Perfect from the
Yeah.
final scene.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
See, and that's funny because my first Batman comic when I joined the podcast was actually The Long Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
That's to me that's my Batman comic wise. It's Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale's Long Halloween and Dark Victory, but also influenced by what Frank Miller did with his comic.
Yeah, I think that also brings to the point where we can start comparing it, I guess, The Dark Knight Returns to other Batman stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess in a frame of like, what we know and what we have appreciated, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, like, I've been Batman animated series all my life.
Yeah.
Bruce Timm, Kevin Conroy, Justice League, Batman Beyond. That has always been my bread and butter of like how Batman should be. But with this story, I think it's you can't say, we've talked about it on our show how like showstopper and world starter,
Yes.
where
Mhm.
like you can't. The Bruce Timm universe would never have existed without Frank Miller's.
Right.
And so, like, the only reason why we actually got like a good balance was because it was a combination of both.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of it, it's hard to compare because it's kind of like you're comparing a primordial soup to everything. It's like this is where it all began.
Well, I mean, in the same bucket, like one of my favorite Batman stories isn't even technically like a quote unquote Batman story, Killing Joke, and I wouldn't have that without Dark Knight Returns because that was I think 2 or 3 years later. I
It
believe.
was, yeah.
I wouldn't have my favorite Batman story without this. So I love it. It's very different from what I usually choose to read, but I respect it immensely.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because even though they're not like in the same continuity, I feel like there's little bits and pieces that each of them sort of donate in a sense to like the grand continuity of Batman, like Barbara Gordon and Killing Joke. And I really like it when those things come up, like crossing media to like the Arkham Knight games, and we have Oracle, and it's like, okay, I get it, like that was set up from not the games, and so that's one thing I really enjoy, and that's why I'm curious. That's why I want to get away from the origin stories in like future iterations of things, like especially in film, is because the interesting things is exploring that universe, and I love it when I watch something Batman and I hear like one line of dialogue or one something, and I'm like, oh yeah, the Killing Joke is like that's a reference to that entire book or whatever. So yeah, that's one thing that I really enjoy about just the grand continuity of all the stories together.
And regarding like origin story, my favorite has already been made, so we don't need to like Batman
That's part of
Begins.
it,
is my favorite Batman.
Oh, yeah.
story.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
my favorite story of telling of how Bruce Wayne became Batman.
Yep.
You're not going to get
I don't
better.
need protection.
You're not going to get better than that for me. You incorporate Bruce becoming the Bat. You have my favorite villain, which is Ra's al Ghul. You heard me.
Raish.
Ra's al Ghul.
Do you want to explain that? I know you've done it before on the show, but like
Yes,
we've been
we
pretty.
did the research. Dr. Barry did the research and found out that the actual Arabic pronunciation is Roz.
So I've been saying it right.
Yeah.
And the
But-
Hebrew pronunciation, which is the creators of Batman, is Raish. So you're right either way, depending on what region you're going with.
But if you're on this show, it's Ra's al Ghul.
It's Ra's al Ghul.
Sounds good to me. That's how I say it anyways.
If you watch the Bruce Timm universe, then it's Raish.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
If you just chose.
If you're a fan of the Arrowverse, it's race.
Is it
Roz.
is it unkosher of me to ask who everyone's favorite Batman villain is?
What was that
Favorite
again?
all time?
Favorite Batman movie?
Villain.
Villain
Oh,
of all
villain.
time.
Actually, I wanted to get Caitlin's thoughts on this compared to other Batman stories she's
Yeah.
read.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But you're familiar with
The animated
you're
universe.
familiar
like
With the movie.
Kevin
with the
Conroy.
movie. So
Right.
I mean,
Yes.
the movie was a
good adaptation of the-
so
of the comic.
You know the story.
I
Caitlin hates
How does it
me
compare
right
to those other Batman ones you've read?
yeah, the ones I've read. Haven't read any.
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. I'm probably more uncultured swine than Josh is.
What about cinematically? Like, you've seen Batman Begins?
No, she's seen Batman Beyond.
I've seen Batman Beyond. I watched Justice League. I watched the animated series.
All the Bruce Timm stuff.
I did watch some of the, like a couple of the like live action Batman movies, but I don't remember them very well at all.
Yeah.
Okay, was the car a tank or did it look cool?
In the movie?
Yeah, in the movie.
Was it a tank or was it sleek?
I honestly couldn't tell you.
Did he have nipples?
Did he have a cod piece?
Was he?
Wow.
Was he like? Or was he like? You want to see the circus?
Did he have
Tell me,
a
Doctor.
self-branded credit
Do
card?
you
I
like the
think he
circus?
was more than.
Then it's Batman. It's
Batman.
Nolan.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's what I saw then.
Isn't that
I
sad?
want-
That's how you can identify which Batman's which.
Which Batman was he? Hi, I'm Batman, or was he? Hi, I'm Batman.
You know, I'll say one thing to rescue Caitlin.
Thank you.
Um,
Fucking save. Fracking save me.
I'm going to say something that is probably going to blow up your chat a little bit, but it's worth it.
Oh no.
Okay.
And I think
Trigger.
I think Batfleck is like I liked it.
You can like Batfleck. They have a problem with him being the best one. Kevin Conroy says he's the best one. I think he was most comically accurate. But my favorite one's Christian Bale.
I'm a
That's what
Balehead, yeah.
But my favorite, no, actually my favorite is Kevin Conroy. So let's
That's
be honest.
that period. I wanted that. I wanted Ben Affleck's like where he was.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted that to be really good.
We'll
and
see
that's,
what
like,
Matt
The suit
Reeves
looked
got.
gorgeous.
my biggest tragedy.
The suit looked gorgeous.
We'll see
The
what-
suit looked
I
amazing.
didn't see that one.
We'll see what Matt Reeves
It
got.
has the most direct pulls from Dark Knight Returns, like
True.
verbatim pulls.
He
Oh.
actually fights like a comic book character instead of
Oh.
like a martial artist. So it looks
Yeah.
it's stylized fighting.
Oh,
So it's very different. So it's like, oh, okay, looks cool.
and
but-
it's that sort of hyper violent version of him.
Yeah.
that sounds
the most
great.
violent.
But to answer Corey's question,
Can I
'cause
ask? Is that unkosher to ask?
yeah, no.
I'm really curious.
I mean, we've talked a little bit about on our animated episode, but my favorite villain is always going to be Two-Face.
Okay.
Because Two-Face was close to Batman. Two-Face was fighting for the right side.
He was drawn like Batman.
Yeah, and in year one, as Steve's knows, he was one of the suspects to be Batman.
Yep.
And he is literally the version of Batman that went wrong. You know,
But if
like
he was sneaking out every night, someone would have noticed.
he was the one that fought within the legal, and then he that's what I love about all the villains, that they're all just one bad day.
Yeah.
And that's the sad thing about them. I love them. That's me.
Crusaders?
Crusaders, what's your guys' favorite
Are we
villain?
talking just the world of Batman, or
The world.
The world.
of
I'm just curious.
The
as to
world.
who your favorite.
So you
Batman
can
villain
have
might be.
like Mad Hatter and Professor Pig.
It's Roz for me, just because of Roz has this vision that he believes he's doing the right thing. It's just this extremist, total rule under the League of Shadows or League of Assassins, and the way how Bruce was, depending on the story you read, was trained by him or has known him, has battled against him. There's that connection there, and the whole him calling him detective. Love that.
I appreciate that.
When he
I
calls him
always like
detective,
when
I love that.
when villains think they're doing the right thing. It's so much easier to feel for them when they're just like, I'm gonna take over the world.
Right? Yeah. Manderson?
I'm gonna go with the Joker, which may
Nice.
be an obvious choice, but whenever they face off, it's always like the greatest battle of
It's never quick.
two. Yeah, and it's
yeah.
two iron wills, one
Yeah.
crazy iron and one really straight dark iron will just clashing, and the crazy one trying to push
Are we talking about RuneScape?
the controlled one. Sorry, what?
That sounds like RuneScape. Different irons, dark iron, regular iron.
So I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Oh, I was just talking. It was a RuneScape joke. I'm over it.
Oh,
Go on. Moving on.
Okay. Not a thing I'm into. I'm not that kind of nerd, I guess. Anyway, I always enjoy their encounters, and Joker almost always pushes him over the edge, but Batman kind of holds on, which maybe it's kind of that hope thing that he still has hope that Joker can be redeemed, and so he holds on to push that. Anyway,
Yeah.
what about the
I
rest
dig
of the NerdOn crew? You guys only one you went?
Anderson, I'm with you on this. Joker is my all-time fave. That's why I love the Killing Joke so much.
He's your favorite villain of all time, I think.
He is, for sure. But I have a soft spot for Mr. Freeze. I really do, especially the animated series, Mr. Freeze.
Oh, he
I
was
have
really
such
good.
a
Animated, yeah.
I love him.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a good dude.
That voice of his in the animated series.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, it's so good.
Yes.
Mine's Harley.
Oh yeah.
All day.
Oh yeah, there you go, Mr.
I think
J.
One of my
Mystic
favorite
just said that
characters.
in the chat. She said Harley Quinn as well.
Yeah.
But she's like barely a villain now.
No, it doesn't matter.
She's
Taylor?
anti-hero.
I was actually gonna say Harley Quinn as well, just because
Yeah.
like I like her psyche, where she's like, I'm not hurting anybody, but I'm gonna put a bazooka in his face. Like, I don't know. I like her. She has like two worlds she's living in. Like the real world is the one her body's in, and then her brain's in like Joker land.
Yeah.
I've said it. Way of looking at it.
I've said it multiple times. If we just, instead of Suicide Squad, if we just got a Joker and Harley movie with like a little Batman sprinkled in, that would have been amazing.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah.
I never even thought
Joshua?
about
Man Bat. No, just kidding.
Kirk Langstrom.
Pilot.
I like.
Pamela.
that. Condiment King.
Clock King.
I'm on the same boat with Tom.
Yeah.
Two-Face has always been just
Goblins and
anytime.
ghouls.
Always,
Han.
always.
Dig it.
Anyway.
Thank you guys for entertaining my question. I was so curious.
Before we wrap it up, any last thoughts on Batman, The Dark Knight Returns? Anything else you wanted to share?
Other than if you haven't read it yet, check it out.
Yes.
It's pivotal.
Okay, fine. Stop screaming at me.
We're
Caitlin.
talking about one. Honestly, if there was one Batman comic I would say to read, it would
Be
well.
the Killing Joke, and then
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, I'm like, well, maybe. Hush, maybe, and then get around to Dark
yeah,
Knight
there you go.
Returns.
Okay, he gets it.
The current run of Batman's really good too.
Yeah.
But any lasting things for? I mean, this is a classic. So it's the Godfather of Batman film,
Yeah.
of Batman books. So read it, enjoy it. I kind of wish they would probably maybe continue it, but then if it's Frank Miller, then you know it's not gonna be great, and that's what happened with the third one, Master Race, because you had to have another writer involved in it. Anyways,
Yeah, I heard rumor there might be a fourth.
it's done, but it's kind of like
Disappointed
I'm like,
Tom Tone.
It's like I would like it, but I kind of don't want it. That's
Kind of
that's the
want
tough
that as
thing.
my text tone somehow.
Oh, God.
Your exhale every time you text me.
I'd be so angry.
my
at you
phone
so
could just go.
quick. No.
It's like ripping my soul.
Oh, it's Tom.
But no, the animated movies, the adaptations are great.
Yep.
We are actually going to have an episode on it sometime soon, so
Yes.
check that out.
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
And I would definitely say read the comic
Before going on the show.
Thank you.
Yes.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Get some context.
I've heard it's really good.
5 out of 5 would recommend.
Yeah. Thanks for having us on, guys. This was a blast.
So
very fun.
much fun.
So where can we find you guys?
Josh.
You can find us. The easiest answer.
Southbound on
is-
I-5, or do I?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
You just head down southbound
Forever.
I-5.
Straight on till
Get
morning.
to LA. Straight on.
Is it the
till
5?
morning. Yes, it is the 5.
5.
So wait, no. Do you know that? Do you know what they're talking about?
No.
So there's a joke from NorCal that where SoCal people will say the before
five.
the freeway.
There's
Yeah,
a whole the
instead of I.
Californians.
And
Yeah, there you go.
and so
Yeah,
for me,
yeah.
like
You take the 5 to the
it's-
2 to the 134. You get off at Melrose.
I'm like, because it's
I
like
know that joke. Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
that's all they're saying.
Douche. But
Where
anyways,
can they find us, Josh? You need to continue.
Can I go now?
Yeah, you can go now.
NerdOn.tv. You can get all the nerdy on business over there. All our socials.
Security card
which includes YouTube,
Yep.
/NerdOnTV,
Written content.
Twitch, written content almost daily.
all the
Soon.
goodness.
Soon.
Soon to be daily.
Our
stream-
podcast on iTunes is there. Nerd on the Podcast.
We are everywhere you turn on the internet.
We stream here on Twitch 6
Daily.
days a week.
Yeah, except for Sunday.
Yeah,
That's for God.
because you got to rest Sundays.
I'm sorry,
day
did you
for
say Batman?
But no, that's all of us.
Yeah.
All right.
Sweet.
You want to take us away, David?
Take us away. I feel like trash. I feel like garbage right now. I don't know what happened.
But you look great.
You look great. I think it's the hummus.
You do. You look beautiful.
You're glowing.
I think it's the hummus.
Hamas.
You guys are the
Yeah.
3 best friends I could ever have.
Sabra, man. Not the Overwatch character, the hummus company.
I love both of those things.
You know, I think
Saber. Didn't they hold Dunder Mifflin too?
Yep.
Yeah.
if we were really to pair off like best friends, I feel like Caitlin and I would be best friends just because our level of passion and just normalness is so spot on that we could just sit and watch TV or read comics together and like, man, that was great. Man, that was really great. And that would be like,
That's it. That's
the
excitement right there.
Yeah, that would be precisely what
I like
happens.
the movie.
I like the movie.
I too enjoyed that thing.
That's great.
But ... that would be Tom's.
So, if you are interested in anything related to the Capeless Crusaders, you can go to thecapelesscrusaders.com. That is our hub, our home on the interwebs. You can find all of our content there, including this and other episodes, previous episodes, links to our Twitch stream, so on and so forth. Our sponsors, lovely Beard Balm Brush. So, say you got a beard, say you got facial hair. Doesn't matter your gender. If you have facial hair and you want to maintain it, you can go to beardbalmbrush.com. They take
That's good to know.
the beard oil, exactly. They take the beard balm. They mix it with some beer's wax. They make it into a brush form. Yeah. How's that feel?
That's good.
That's the wax, right?
Feels nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
Go to beardbalmbrush.com. Use the code CAPELESS at checkout for 15% off
I think that's how that works.
of your purchase. Computer booter.
That's
local
rubbing the skin, right?
Computer repair. Yes. Also gets the hose again. Computer repair. Retro video game store and video game lounge. TheCriticalDice.com. Use the code CAPELESS. Get 15% off. Get some dice. We're going to be playing some Dungeons and Dragons.
2 weeks.
We might actually be playing some Dungeons and Dragons at the Sacramento Public Library.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. And Empire's Comics Vault, of course, our home away from home with all of the comics. So, for the Capeless Crusaders, my name is David Barry at DR Barry on varying social media platforms. I am joined this evening by my brothers in arms. First, to my left.
That's me.
That's you.
You don't have to thank us, and you never will. I am Manderson at Son of Mander on Twitter and Instagram.
That was cute.
Good one.
Tossing it over
On the right.
to my frenemy over there.
It's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me. This is the Azorian one, Anthony Steves.
There it is. And thank you, special thank you to our guests, our friends, NerdOn TV, NerdOn the Podcast, all the way down in Southern California.
Down to
Like I said,
five.
you can check them out at
Down to
NerdOn
five.
TV.
I'm not wearing hockey
Corey,
pants.
Tom, Josh, Caitlin, and Ali, thank you for coming on, guys.
Yeah, nerd on.
Thanks for
Yeah.
having us.
Thank
It's
you
a
for
blast.
hanging out.
It's awesome.
Oh, and you should check out part 2, which is going to be with them.
What?
Magic of
Yeah.
Radio.
It continues.
It continues.
We're not done.
The crossover event.
Oh, God. It continues.
Shaking
Yes.
the foundation
Anyway.
of the podcast universe.
Yes.
So-
better than CW.
To the chat room, to everyone hanging out. If you're watching on YouTube after the fact, thank you. If you're listening to the audio later on, hello, how's things?
How are you doing?
How's that you can just hear me.
Is that a turn signal? Watch out for the car.
Yeah, watch out for that one.
Thank you.
Anyway, so for
Both hands on the wheel.
the Capeless Crusaders and NerdOn, good night.